celebration at SIM tonight. My name's Dave Alexander. I have the pleasure and honor of serving as president this year. A little different for me. Thank you, Mike, for the suggestion on the musical piece, giving us a bit of a vibe and feel of the Halloween season. What was it? And when was that one produced? Where was it from? Fantasia. What year for Fantasia? 41, correct. This was the Leopold Stokowski's version, specially produced for Walt Disney's 1940 film Fantasia. The particular version of this and the cut that we've got is from Leonard Bernstein's orchestration of the New York Philharmonic, and that was from 1987. We'll hear a little bit more about Halloween coming up. Today's program will be Pioneer Resources. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and have a reflection from Mylene Stoffen. We'll recite the four-way test at the end of the meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Eileen, you got through the buffet line. I like that.
Let us pray. Almighty God, be with us as we deal with the dashed hopes we each experience on occasion, and meet us in our realized dreams. Guide us as we work to be faithful stewards of the great bounty of resources in this community. Direct us with grateful hearts in order that we will recognize who most needs our mercy. Help us to stay true to our personal values and to the organizational credos we live by. Remind us constantly to delight in the fellowship here. Lastly, nudge us to be humble and thankful whenever we are waited on and served a meal by another. Amen.
Thank you. Please please take your seats. We already remained in standing. You can take your seats. We'll continue your networking, your mingling, and we'll be back shortly. Would visiting Rotarians and guests please come forward? Emily has the mic. On my right, if you could. Good afternoon. Lisa Krause referred to bringing in the front door the First Lady of Rotary, Muskegon. My wife, Peg Alexander, retired educator.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Lisa Tyler. It is my pleasure to have as a guest Christy Smith. Christy is with Family Promise of the Lakeshore. And I was delighted because usually Doug Wood brings in people I know, and Doug didn't get her this time. But Christy will be presenting to us on a new program in January and wanted to check out Rotary before that. And we're hopeful that maybe she'll be interested and want to join us.
Good afternoon, Rotary. I have two lovely guests with me today. First, I have Karen Farmer. I've known Karen since I was about 12. She was a teacher at Nelson School. She's not going to like this, but it's true. She doesn't look any different than she did in 1970. She really doesn't. Karen is very involved in our community. She is on the board for the Friends of Hackley Public Library, and she teaches English as a second language through Reed Muskegon, and she's a fabulous musician. And help me welcome Karen. Many of you probably know Dr. Peter Kurgel. Peter I've known Peter since he was 10, and I was his parents' life insurance agent back in the day. And Peter is now our parish administrator at St. John's, and he is also our church musician, and he has filled up our choir pews. He's quite an amazing person. Help me welcome Dr. Kurgel.
Hello, my guest again is Zarela Brenz. Her application to join the club was approved by the board last week.
Good afternoon, Rotary. All right, you have to get ready because your day is about to get better. Because I'm going to introduce you to some Big Reds. To introduce three of the seniors is Jennifer O'Brien. She is one of the counselors at the high school.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jen O'Brien. I am one of the three counselors at Muskegon High School. I bring with me three of our finest. First is Danae Winters.
My name is Danae. I am a senior. I participate in NHS. I'm the president. I'm a head drum major of the marching band, and I would like to go to U of M for school.
Next, we have Kennedy Loudermill.
Hi, my name is Kennedy Loudermill. I play basketball. I'm a captain on the soccer team. I'm also a part of NHS, and I plan to go to North Carolina A&T for business administration.
And last but not least, AJ Holt.
Hello, everybody. AJ. I'm a captain for the Muskegon Big Reds football team. I'm also a part of National Honor Society and also Student Leadership Council, and I plan on going to University of Southern California for psychology.
Awesome.
Impressive directions for these, future directions for these young people. Welcome all. Do I have those three slides that we hadn't talked about this? There they are. My Muskegon Minute. In the old days of newspapers, the Chronicle would have addressed the Halloween season this year probably on two fronts. As business editor, I would have done a story on the proliferation of Halloween decorations, and say feature writer Susan Harrison would have done a story on the family, a family putting out an amazing display this season. Mike is showing us some really nice Halloween displays from my neighborhood on the west side of the city. Well, I would have reported that the total U.S. spending on Halloween decorations and the like was $2.6 billion in 2019. 2.6 in 2019, increasing to an estimated $4.2 billion this year, a 61% increase. Halloween is reportedly the sixth most popular American holiday behind Christmas, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, New Year's, and Veterans Day. Halloween is not my holiday. I haven't gotten excited about Halloween since I went trick-or-treating back in middle school. However, I am a Thanksgiving guy. Family, food, and football. To each their own. Mary Beth Ramos will be introducing today's program.
I got roped into this, so bear with me. I'd like to introduce Jill Bontice and Greg Sisko. Jill is the CEO of Pioneer Resources, a proud Ravenna High School alumni and graduate of Grand Valley State University and Michigan State University, with her master's in social work. Jill has built a distinguished career grounded in service, leadership, and inclusion. Under her leadership, Pioneer Resources has expanded essential services into underserved communities, including senior programming in Ravenna, and strengthened its reputation as a statewide leader in quality and innovation. Deeply committed to advancing equity and opportunity, Jill also serves as president of Encompass Michigan and contributes to numerous boards and collaborates initiatives across the region. Greg Sisko is Director of Business, a Muskegon native, and a Master's in Public Administration from Central Michigan University. Okay, thank you. He began his career at the Muskegon Lakeshore Chamber of Commerce, where he discovered a passion for community impact. Greg has held various roles at nonprofits, including Agewell Services and Bethany Christian Services. Currently, he serves as Director of Business at Pioneer Resources, overseeing transportation and various other business functions. He also sits on the board of directors for Hackley Public Library.
Go ahead and play the video. Yes. Yeah, go ahead and play the video. Thank you. Great, thank you. And thank you, Mary Beth, for the introduction. Like she said, my name is Greg Sisko. I'm our Director of Business at Pioneer Resources. And this is a really exciting year for Pioneer Resources because we are celebrating 70 years as a corporation. We've been in the community, yes, we've been in the community providing services for about 80 years, but 70 years as an official corporation. Our mission at Pioneer is to help people with disabilities and seniors attain independence through creating independence and dignity by creating opportunities for participation in the community. We're going to start by talking a little bit about where we've been as an organization. So our story at Pioneer really starts back in the late 1940s at Black Creek Church in Muskegon. There was a couple that regularly attended service, but they were attending separately. They were never going together. And the pastor asked them why that was the case. And at that point, they shared that they had a child with disabilities who required full-time care. So they took turns attending service and staying home. At that time, the pastor encouraged them to connect with a couple other families that had a very similar situation. And those families came together and formed what was called Pioneer Association to help support each other. They went on to later become West Michigan Center for Handicapped Children and began operating the first special education school in the area, Pioneer School, in the basement of Bethany Church. At that time and throughout the history, the goal was always to meet the needs of the community and of the persons that they serve. And as those needs shifted and changed later in the 1970s when Pioneer School and that special education school was no longer a need, they looked at other ways that they could still provide programs and services while meeting their core mission of therapy and education for persons with disabilities. That looked like many things over the course of their years. It was horseback riding therapy. There was multiple situations of building accessible housing. There was a deli that was operated that served as a vocational training program. But throughout all of those different services and programs that were offered, they continued to focus on what the need of the community was and what the needs of the person served. And that is something that is still a big focus of Pioneer today, and something that is still, we're still striving towards. So coming a little bit to where we are now. We have lots of services and programs that fall under Pioneer Resources, and the easiest way to kind of remember where they go and what they are is to think about the 4 different areas that we serve, or 4 different areas of our organization. So if you look at the top there's the 4 different circles. We have a place to live, a place to learn, a place to grow and play, and a way to get there. And so we'll touch on those 4 different areas through this presentation, but what that looks like for us is 16 different sites of service throughout Muskegon County and into Ottawa County, serving over 4,000 people a year and employing between 185 and 200 employees depending on the season. Jill's going to spend some time talking about the camp in a little bit, but when that's running in the summer and we have those seasonal employees on hand, that's when we'll see ourselves get closer to that 200 number. Touch a little bit on our main funding sources and some of our big community partners. This breakdown is representative of fiscal year 24, but still gives us a really good picture of what we look like as an organization. So about 85% of our total funding comes from Medicaid and Medicare. Obviously a large chunk of it. Some of our other main funders or community partners would include organizations like Ottawa Community Mental Health, Health West, Michigan Department of Transportation, MAISD, Life Circles PACE, Michigan Rehabilitation Services, Muskegon County Senior Millage, and a bunch of other area agencies, donors, and other business sponsors. There's some listed on there, and many more. They're all very essential to what we do and very important in supporting our organization. Looking a little bit more at some things that we're working on currently in the funding realm is we've recently been awarded a pretty substantial grant from Michigan Public Service Commission that allowed for the installation of solar on 8 of our sites. That installation of solar will save us about $1 million over the course of the next 30 years, and that's all money that's being put right back into the persons that we serve and our organization and ultimately into the community. Also in partnership with AgeWell Services, we were awarded a large grant from the Michigan Department of Transportation that will allow us to provide additional medical appointment transportation for older adults and people with disabilities in this community, as well as explore some electric vehicles and adding those to our fleet. Both of these big grant awards align really well with our strategic plan and what we push for, looking at innovation and sustainability and how we're funded and how we provide services to the community and to the persons we serve. There's also a lot of changes coming with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services that will impact how nonprofits like ours are funneled service revenue from the state. So it's really important for us to continue to focus on providing quality outcomes as an organization and having the documentation to support those outcomes. Now we'll touch on our 4 areas real quick and then I'll pass it over to Jill. First off, we have a place to live. That includes 5 specialized group homes for persons with significant care needs, 2 supported independent living homes, and 2 HUD-funded accessible apartment buildings. The really cool thing about the different options of housing that we have is that they support individuals no matter what their needs may be. So all the way from really specialized 24/7 care in those licensed homes through independent living and apartment, accessible apartment housing, there's different options available. A place to learn. This includes our applied behavior analysis therapy, evidence-based therapy for children and young adults diagnosed with autism. community living supports and skill building, where we're bringing individuals into the community and helping them develop new skills and build relationships, and vocational training, where we are giving very individualized planning and training in vocational world for job readiness. A way to get there. If you look at the top left corner, that's one of our first vehicles that we had as Pioneer, one of the first Pioneer school buses. So really cool to look at that picture of that vehicle and then see some of the other vehicles we've had over the years, and just see the differences of that through the transportation that they've been able to offer. Currently, we have a fleet of 85 vehicles, almost all of which are wheelchair accessible. In fiscal year 25, which just wrapped up at the end of September, we drove over 900,000 miles, mainly throughout Muskegon and Ottawa County. We are contracted with Michigan Department of Transportation to provide transportation services for persons with disabilities and older adults, and those who have barriers to transportation. And that looks like supporting all sorts of needs, ranging from medical appointment transportation, job training, socialization activities, and other situations where barriers just exist for individuals to ride. And lastly, a place to grow and play. So we have senior activities that are funded through the Muskegon County Senior Millage, and then our Leisure and Recreation Club. Both of these have the main focus of creating opportunities for individuals to participate in the community, build relationships, and socialize. We also operate a camp, Pioneer Trails, and that is where I'm going to pass it over to Jill, where she can talk a little bit more about that and its history with Rotary.
All right. So let's talk camp. Let's talk its history, and let's talk about its interconnection with Rotary. So as you can see on this GIS map from the County of Muskegon, Pioneer Trails is a 49-acre lot on Big Blue Lake. And our wonderful neighbors right next door are the YMCA Camp Pendaluan, who owns 39 acres. So that west section of the lake holds camps. So in the summer, you're hearing a lot of laughter on that lake. And then in the winter, it gets pretty quiet, except for those fisher people that are moving in to do their ice fishing. Okay, Mr. President, my disclaimer here is I am not a historian and I am not a reporter. So feel free to correct me on any of the historical data that I have pulled and researched. So let's look at the foundations of that property that is now Pioneer Trails. So you'll learn more about the connections of Rotary as we go. So first, in those early foundational years, we had the Humane Union of Muskegon. So they were based in the city of Muskegon, but we'll learn more about that connection later, because they were later called the Home of the Friendless. So it was a service group whose mission focused on caring for neglected children and adults, and they were supported by the Hackley, the Humes, and the Hammond families. So I do have two historical stories on this slide. Actually, can you flip back one more second? So these I did pull directly from the Muskegon Daily Chronicle, Saturday, April 11th, 1896. An article titled, "Teamsters, Lost in the Wild," denoted that workers who were leading these mule teams with lumber from contractor Burke, who were constructing a lodge at Blue Lake Club, were lost. Mr. Burke found them after they had been lost all night long, and they began building the lodge the following morning at 9:30 a.m. This lodge, photoed here, is still on Pioneer Trails property today. Did you know also that the Hackleys adopted a son from the Muskegon Humane Union? So this article from 1899. Tuesday in probate court was filed the formal papers by which Charles H. Hackley and Julia E. Hackley formally adopted Charles Scott, son of James S. Scott and Emma Scott of Muskegon, as their son, changing his name to that of Charles Moore Hackley. He is put down as 16 years old on November 17, 1898. The court entered the order to that effect. James Scott had already indentured his son to the Muskegon Humane Union, and the latter now consents to his adoption by Mr. and Mrs. Hackley. Okay, now next one. So first notations on our actual property at Pioneer Trails was the creation of Blue Lake Club. So the Hackleys supported this effort as well as other prominent business leaders in the community at that time, mostly in the lumber business. So membership to the Blue Lake Club was limited to 35 members, and it was $100. So the cabins that you see in that photo are still on the property today and utilized for services, but they are very rustic. Next slide. So our history continues. The property is then named Camp Emery, and information here shows that this was then supported by the Rotary and YWCA. Look at that glorious old photo. Next. So this is where the property becomes more of a service property versus just recreation. Remember when I shared that the Blue Lake Club had about 35 members. So about a third of those members of the Blue Lake Club turned their shares to donate to the Muskegon Humane Union, said an article from 1921. The Muskegon Humane Union purchased 80 acres from Blue Lake Club for $15,000. So who would like 80 acres on Big Blue Lake for $15,000 today? So remember Monroe Lodge that I talked about on that site? That was the building that housed children at camp. If you've ever been on a tour of the Traverse City Mental Health Hospital, you may have heard stories about those buildings. And so I had heard a story when I went on a tour there, and it helped me realize what one piece of the Monroe Lodge was. When I walk into Monroe Lodge, there's a big open area, but there's almost a stage built to the side. So when I was at the mental health hospital, they were telling the story of that building, which also had a stage to the side. And so it connected the two pieces to me, because what happens in those days on that stage is that nurses would stand up on the stage during the mealtime to ensure that everyone ate their food and stayed healthy during that time. No one was choking. But essentially, the goal was to ensure that they cleaned those plates. And remember, the goal of the individual children that were placed at this new home were to become healthy again. So that is one of the historical stories of that. An article notes in 1920s that there was finding in healthcare at that time that many children were suffering from malnutrition. And they felt the reason for that was because they were not getting outside. So if a wife passed away in the 1920s, often the children would be sent to this home to support their needs while the dad continued to work. So the first group there was 30 children. By 1922, they were serving 300 children a summer. Next slide. A 1930s article showed Camp Emery and the children's home were still tied, but that Camp Emery was increasingly becoming more of a community initiative, not necessarily tied to the association. In the 1970s, Rotary Club became the owner, and Rotary invested over $30,000 into Camp Emery. Next slide. I gathered this information from the board minutes of West Michigan Center for Handicapped Children, aka Pioneer Resources. So in May of 1989, there were discussions between the Rotary, the local Easter Seals Board, regarding a joint venture to potentially occur at Camp Emery. And so as these conversations and community committee convened, there were labeled a Camp Emery project, and that was made up of Easter Seals, Friends of the Disabled, and the Rotary Group. And on February 1991, the board approved an offer of purchase for Camp Emery from the Rotary for $200,000. And in 1991, the closing date was established, and a bill of sale for all personal property and the property was made. And that is our transition from Rotary to Pioneer Resources of what was then Camp Emory. Next slide. So the agreements were made. We worked alongside our neighbor at that time, the Y, to manage the camp for us. And Pioneer made investments at that time of $127,000. Bringing us to 1992, there was a fund established at the Muskegon County Community Foundation by the Friends of the Disabled, and it had been named the William Monroe Memorial Fund for the Disabled, and that is still open today. In the 1990s, through collaboration with funding with the Muskegon Area Intermediate School District, we began day camp. So during the summer, we would invite those children and young adults who had disabilities to be able to continue pieces of education and recreation at Pioneer Trails Camp. So the official name change to Pioneer Trails came in 1996. Next slide. So camp flourishes. When we look at 1996 to 2019, we have a lot of different groups that utilize our camp still. So we have the Hemophilia Foundation. They come in and lease the camp from us for the entire month of July, bringing children with bleeding disorders to be able to have the opportunity to celebrate recreation together. But if you know a person with a bleeding disorder, you also know that there can be a lot of risks there. So they bring in doctors and interns and set up an entire infirmary at our camp in the Monroe Lodge. But we have a lot of different groups, such as school groups. We also have Camp Courage that is put on by our hospice friends that allows children who have lost someone to come together during that time and grieve and express their challenges that they might be having. So we also, during this time, lost our funding from the Muskegon Area Intermediate School District, but we continued that service through 2020. And then 2020 happened. Yeah, we all know that, so we can skip by that slide. We've continued to have some slow returns to services. So this last summer, we did serve about 1,500 individuals. So pre-COVID, we were up to 2,600, and now we're down to 1,500. Go ahead and move to the next slide. So I want to kind of map out our next steps for our camp. We have to look at what the needs are in the community. We have to look at what the needs are of the camp for the improvements. We have made many improvements, but we really need some feedback. So I would like to ask community members and Rotary to help us with that. So asking for people to join, to give feedback. Please reach out to me afterwards. I would be happy to discuss that with you. But what do we want that camp to look like? Do we want it to remain open only in the summer? Do we want it to be year-round? We really need to focus on that. Next slide. So certainly where we're going, you can move to the next slide as well. We're focusing strategically. How do we sustain in our community with reduced funding? How do we make sure that we can focus on quality? And how are we a part of the community as a partner, as a coordinator, joining together with other entities to meet the services that there are? Open for questions.
While she's getting that, let me just add one thing here. Just an update on the history of that fund.
Did you validate it?
No, we're going to take it a step further.
Okay.
$200,000 is what we received from your agency, right?
Yes.
And Tim will help me with that. That is the money that has gone into the Community Foundation for Muskegon County's Rotary Fund. That fund today sits at about $580,000. And we've given over the years more than $500,000 to nonprofits in this community, and that's what we're raising money for at Harvest Fest. How do you like that?
I love that connectivity.
Hello, great presentation. Transportation obviously is a huge barrier for folks with disabilities. It's great that you guys provide that. Can you talk a little bit about how people access those services? You know, what are the mechanisms they need to go through in order to get transportation services through Pioneer?
Yeah. You want to take that?
Yeah, so we work with many, we have many contracted partners throughout Muskegon County and Ottawa County where we are able to work directly with different programs or organizations to provide transportation services for their participants. For individuals who fall outside of that, there are various funding streams that we have that can help support those different transportation needs, so it really just depends on what they'd be looking for. I would encourage anyone to just reach out to Pioneer Resources and give us a call, and we can talk through what options might be available and how we could potentially support that. Also always looking for new opportunities, and so if it's an area that we currently aren't involved in and we're identifying that there's a need there, then it's certainly an area that we would be open to exploring and having conversations about. So reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah, especially with the large grant that we received, we have some new opportunities to expand those services. So connect with us.
Other questions?
You guys are too easy. Thank you.
Jill and Greg, thank you for the presentation and teaching us about our connection to your agency. Speaker's honorarium this year will be a Muskegon Rotary Club donation for supplies and materials used by our club members and youth from our Interact clubs as they take service trips to El Salvador and Honduras. Michael, birthday slide. Linda Juarez, Claire Ritter, Lisa Gotti-Arnold, Jenny McNeil, and Randy Lindquist will be having birthdays through the course of the next week. Do we have a songsters out there? Happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And as usual, please, on your birthday or around it, make a $10 donation birthday gift to Caring Connection. You can do that through the cards up here. There's a QR code, and it is in the rim, I believe, every week. Spotlight video and Rotary in Action is Bob Skolnick. Michael?
One of the things that has kind of guided me over the years is just remembering that I came to Muskegon almost by accident. I'd always wanted to, in the back of my mind, to own a business, and I ended up seeing an ad in the paper for a franchise. It was Snap-on Tools, and ultimately I ended up being the Snap-on dealer in Muskegon. But I have never forgotten about the fact that I came here with nothing. And over the years, it wasn't that long. I was a Snap-on dealer for 7 years, and then I bought Muskegon Brake and owned that for 21 years. So in 28 years, starting with nothing, at the end I had about 100 employees. And, you know, it's just a small success story. And I haven't forgotten what Muskegon has given me. And that's one of the reasons I have been motivated to give back. In 1988, Jim Fisher, who's also a member of the Rotary, currently a member of the Rotary Club, he joined in 1987. I was his first new member. And I mention that only because Jim has brought in many, many new Rotarians. But all of a sudden then, I had an opportunity to meet other community leaders, and there were just a lot of good people in the Muskegon Rotary Club. And I'd go to meetings and I hear about different projects. I met a lot of other community leaders that were either leaders, presidents, CEOs, executive directors of nonprofit organizations, and I would hear of just lots of good things going on in Muskegon, many of which needed finances. So I kind of got sucked into that. You know, it's just like I wanted to help. I wanted to do what I could help, whatever what could I do?
Thank you, Bob Skolnick, for all you do for this club and our community. There are no inductions today, but understand that we had 4 last week. We've had 5 new members approved by the board last week. We're going from 250 to about 260 plus, I would guess, in the coming weeks or month. And as we continue to have guests up here who would like to join us, we also have resignations. So if you have 250 members, people come and people go. And I received a resignation letter this week that I would like to read a bit of, and it was from Roger Spolman. Roger says, fellow Rotarians, after 44 years as a proud member of the Muskegon Rotary Club, I've decided it is time to formally resign my membership. This is not a decision made lightly. Rotary has been an important part of my life, and I remain deeply grateful for the friendships, shared service, and the purpose that it has given to me. When I was privileged to serve as club president from 1993 through 1994, I experienced firsthand the spirit of service above self. Roger has been in Muskegon and California back and forth, not been able to be with us much in terms of Thursday noon luncheons, so he would want to part with you this. Please know that I will always hold Muskegon Rotary Club in high regard and will continue to cheer on its good work in our community. Thank you for the many years of fellowship and for the meaningful role Rotary has played in my personal and professional life. Sincere appreciation and best wishes, Roger Spolman. As I said, president from 93 to 94. We all know as a community leader and as a healthcare administrator, executive in our town for many, many decades. Thank you, Roger. If you have Rotary Club announcement from a club committee or event, I think we have an event, Roger, don't we? Keep your remarks under 2. Under 2, yeah. I will say that next scheduled Rewind meeting is Thursday, November 4th, 5:15 at Core Plaza, The Vault. As a club, we are supporting 2 special events on Saturday evening, November 8th. There is a Muskegon Young Black Professionals Shades of Excellence celebration in the Convention Center and a blues event featuring Detroit's Thoretta Davis at Unruly Brewing. Both celebrate the diversity of our community. Please consider attending one or the other. Save the date again for May 2 for a morning of Muskegon Rotary Club visioning led by District 6290 visioning team. More details to come. Thank you to Jay Griffith and to Kevin Donovan for agreeing to be an assistant sergeant at arms as Ed Hendrickson continues to recover and hopefully will be back with us very soon. Thank you for all that have out yesterday. Aaron, I'll let you go first. Do you want to give a report on our food truck efforts?
Hello, everybody. Aaron Bozart here. I'm pleased to report that yesterday we had a very successful food distribution event at Temple Methodist Church, also the location of the Muskegon Heights Muskegon Supper House. Despite a really brisk north wind and very threatening weather pattern, we dodged most of the rain and only a few sprinkles got in our way, so we were very grateful for that, although most of us came prepared for the very worst that Mother Nature could throw at us. We had more than 20 Rotary volunteers and their family members, significant others, so great turnout from our membership. We also had really helpful participation from the Baker Rotaract group. I think there were 10 or 12 students there under the leadership of Jamie Soa. And we also had Muskegon Big Reds representatives from their Interact club. So it was a really great turnout of multi-generational, multi-skilled kind of individuals. We served, and these are approximate numbers, the details are still being counted, but we know that at least 150 cars drove through the food line. There were also 37 walkthroughs, individuals who come on their own without any other transportation. And combined, we provided very fresh, wholesome food to more than 245 households. We distributed 6,500 pounds of fresh food. I won't read the entire list to you, but basically it included 756 pounds of apples, 1,500 pounds of pears, 1,100 pounds of grapes, and much more. I mentioned the fresh food nature of this food distribution because the Temple Methodist Church location in Muskegon Heights is also probably a location that many would describe as a food desert in our Muskegon County region in terms of location to stores and retail establishments. So I think we met a real need there. The community came together, I think, to demonstrate the very best of ourselves and ourselves as Rotarians, and so it was a significant event. Many thanks to everyone here who assisted, too many to name, and in the interest of time, I need to limit the rest of my remarks here, but if you're interested in knowing more, see me. We will do this again. Thanks to the board and the financing that has been arranged, we'll do another food distribution on April 22 of next spring, and perhaps other opportunities for food distributions will arise. So that's where we are.
Roger, we having an event today? We have an event. Oh, that one. Yes.
My daughter, and actually some Rotarians in the room, can say my hair used to be this color. It really did. It was orange. Harvest Fest tonight. I'm not here to beg. Just looking forward to seeing you all tonight. We're in great shape, I think. I got to run out of here as soon as we're done. But see you tonight at Harvest Fest, 5 to 8, down at the Culinary Institute of Michigan. And also, by the way, the real reason Roger Spolman resigned, too many Rogers in the club. I said, Raj, how can I be president if you're still in the club? So anyway, but also wanted to point out this week's rim on page 7 of the rim. Good thing we don't print this thing because we go through a lot of paper. Is a great information. Thank you, Susan. On we did some work at our second microforest on Saturday. Had a great group of students from Muskegon, Reese Puffer, and North Muskegon Interact clubs. Dave, we got invitations to all 3 of them, so we'll be there soon. But we put down cardboard and spread chips. John Nolan couldn't make it, but Doug Wood was there to tell us what we were doing. So turned out very well, and more to come on that. Thank you.
I'd say there's a little bit going on in this club, wouldn't you? I'm here to remind you about the book discussion that we're going to be having on the Big Read. That'll be October 29th at 6:30 at Muskegon Community College in room 1006. So we hope to see anybody who has taken one of the books. We only have 6 people signed up on Sign Up Genius right now. So please, if you took a book, even if you haven't finished the book, it will be a good discussion, I think. And the students have worked really hard on the questions. So we want to make a good showing.
How about mingling every Sunday at 12?
Well, that too. And the other thing is on November 5th at the Norton Shores Library, there's a group of faculty that will be providing kind of a panel on the Big Read. And they've put a lot of work into that. So again, that should be a great discussion.
Sarah, are you here? Sarah Rinsma-Semiga? I've got your books. Come see me.
Kendra Robinson here. I'm going to be very, very quick. I love Rotary for the connections. And about 8 weeks ago, I sat in this room having lunch with another sister Rotarian who was telling me about, she was the manager or head person of a credit union here that gives home equity loans to non-primary homes. If you're here, please see me afterwards. I have 2 people, including myself, who need your services. So, credit union, home equity loans. Thank you.
It's called mingling.
So does Everett Wyatt. This is my best side. Now I completely lost my train of thought. We are kicking off another Brave Rotarians contest named where in Muskegon is Dave Alexander. So if you are interested in participating and fulfilling your obligation to a $100 competition or a donation to the Rotary Foundation, you'll meet that obligation and have the opportunity to win a Paul Harris, as well as learn where are Dave's favorite local watering holes or favorite places to be within Muskegon County.
I know I'm standing between like the door and going, so just be quick. On the weekend of November 7th, we as Muskegon have the proud honor of hosting all of the inbound exchange students for a service conference, not concert, that would be fun. But we're hosting a service conference for all of the inbound exchange students from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, all the way down to Holland, Michigan. So with that being said, if you have kids, if you have grandkids, if you have nieces and nephews, if you're really tight with your neighbor's kids, I don't know, pull out your phone, mark down in your calendar November 8th at 10:30 a.m. and come meet us out at Heckley Library, where our exchange students are going to be reading childhood stories in their native language from when they were a kid, as well as doing arts and crafts, teaching nursery rhymes and other different languages, and just having a really great time. These kids put in a ton of different work. They're coming in from all over the globe, literally, and it'll be a great time for you to be able to spend with your family.
Thanks for all we're doing, Dom, with your group and the exchange program. Cindy, you got the raffle. For how much? $5. 310, 310. In the corner. Let's go for $10. $216. Got a winner in the middle. And now for 25. 25? I'll give 5 extra. 20? I guess we're at 20. I'll give $5 to the cause, yeah. Come see me afterwards. 20. $264. Who do I owe? 264. Our program next week will be Shoreline Trails and Greenways Stag Plan. They've talked to us earlier. We are part of the engagement in which they got their information. Thank you for helping them with that. They will continue here next week to give us what their conclusions are and next steps. I will not be here next week. I'm off to Sault Ste. Marie and Lake State College for volleyball. Roger will be standing in for the Halloween weekend. You got the right shirt on, color up there. After the bell this year, as we mingle, I will play Jackson Brown's Loadout Stay in background in honor and appreciation for our meeting crew of Mike, Kim, now Jay and Kevin, along with the staff at the Lake House. Thanks for making this such a meaningful meeting. All stand for the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? See you at Harvest Fest. Go out and do good. Unite for good. We are adjourned.